Hello, Vincent Carroll speaking. This is tutorial number 35. This tutorial, we will call it stomach heat, heat in the stomach. So stomach heat can occur in two separate ways. It can of course be an empty heat, but more likely than not it'll be a full heat, because full heat will come to your attention far faster than empty heat. But we will look at both. Full heat enters into the stomach very often from food, although it can also be a mental emotional aspect as well. Foods that are hot, foods that are spicy, foods that are very warm, foods that will damage the wetness or the yin of the stomach can create a sense of stomach heat of excess, and that can lead on to stomach fire. And very often there's a very long history of drinking, for example, alcohol, particularly fortified alcohols, and also foods that are particularly spicy. People will eat that and therefore develop heat in the middle jaw or heat in the stomach. Of course, sometimes it can be mental emotional as well. And when it is, very often there's regurgitation of the food. In other words, rebellious stomach chi as the liver pushes upwards to force up the stomach chi into the esophagus. So what do we get from a clinical point of view? Well, we get pain and we get tenderness in the epigastric area. And also there can be fire or tenderness or heat rising up in the esophagus at the back of the breastbone. That's called heartburn, which is very common from a Western medical point of view. People often alkalize the area by taking Rennies, for example, or Gaviscon or whatever. And the idea is to make acid more neutral, more towards a pH of 7 by taking an alkali. The stomach itself operates at a very low pH because it's acidic, and it's therefore used to break down the products of digestion, to emulsify them, and that can only happen in an acidic environment. But sometimes it can be over acidic, and that means pain. So there's also a distended feeling, particularly when there's the mental emotional component to the actual stomach fire as well, or stomach heat morphing into stomach fire. Where that happens, it can be a bulging sensation in the epigastric area, the middle jaw area, because the liver is rebelling upwards. And then there'll be burping and regurgitation up. Very often there's halitosis, which is bad breath, and all that you associate with sort of full heat. A typical example of that might be somebody that might eat spicy foods late at night. First of all, the stomach, due to the circadian rhythm, is not equipped to digest or to emulsify food at that hour of the night, so it sits there in the stomach and it ferments. And sometimes, particularly for younger people, it can morph into a stomach fire with a lot of pain in the epigastric area, a lot of foul breath or halitosis, and where there's mental emotional aspect, the burping up or the rebellion of stomach chi. For older people, you can get a stomach yin deficiency, and a stomach yin deficiency is very different. It's also a discomfort. There's a sense of being hungry without wanting to eat, a niggling pain, because remember, it's deficiency, it's not full on, a niggling pain in the epigastric area, a sense of dryness in the stomach. In the tongue as well will show signs of yin deficiency with a peeled tongue, whereas in full heat you expect a very dry tongue with a red middle area on the tongue, which corresponds, of course, to the stomach area. You would expect that. Stomach yin deficiency occurs very often later on in life, and there's a strong correlation with stomach cancer from a Western medical point of view. So it is quite serious if you do diagnose stomach yin deficiency, and again, it's often as a result of a lifetime or of decades of taking inappropriate hot foods, often combined with mental emotional stuff. A person that might have stomach fire earlier on in life, or certainly stomach heat, and then of course as the yang consumes the yin, then the yin deficiency becomes much more apparent than the yang in excess, and eventually you don't have yang in excess and you're down to yin deficiency. So in other words, the stomach fire, stomach heat can eventually morph in to a stomach yin deficiency. It's all part of a spectrum anyway. Remember, yang always consumes yin, but it's the yang rising up is what you notice, rather than the yin collapsing down until such time that the yang doesn't rise, and then in later life the yin deficiency becomes much more apparent, this niggling pain, discomfort in the epigastric area, which you wouldn't really describe as full on or excess, because of course it's not excess, it's a deficiency, and it will probably be accompanied by other aspects of yin deficiency in the body, personality or whatever else. But the yang deficiency, the yang in excess, the younger person taking the inappropriate food or whatever, I mean, it can morph into what from a Western medical point of view could be viewed as a gastritis, an esophagitis, a duodenal ulcer, a gastric ulcer, It sometimes can result in blood coming up, being vomited up. It sometimes can result in bleeding gums as well, and that's quite normal for an excess stomach condition, particularly when the stomach yang excess becomes stomach fire. The stomach is quite an extreme organ. It doesn't take much to push it into stomach fire because it's meant to be a wet and cooling and digestive organ. But once that cooling aspect, once the gastric juices are obliterated because of taking heat on board, generally from a dietary point of view, then in that case there's nothing to control the yang, and the yang creates an intense epigastric pain which may come up as a heartburn as well. So what's the treatment? Well, for full heat, you drag it down. I mean, you go for stomach number 44, which is spring point to the stomach channel. You do the accumulation point, which is stomach number 34. So that's stomach number 44 and stomach number 34. These are the main points as well. You do a spleen 6 because you want to encourage fluid. I like taking heat out directly, so I will needle Ren number 12, Ren number 13, which of course is above Ren number 12. It is more associated with the cardia valve and the lower esophagus, whereas Ren 12 is associated with the body of the stomach, or indeed Ren number 11. Why not do that as well and see does it blush up with heat, because that corresponds roughly to the duodenum, and we're talking from a Western medical point of view also about duodenal ulcer that can present itself as full heart fire. And of course take heat out everywhere else. I mean, it's likely to be a deep toxic heat, so take it out at spleen 10. I mean, take out Li4, Li11, obviously, maybe Sanja number 6 as well, all the traditional heat points. And above all, give dietary advice. Give smaller portions, cooling type foods, lots of fluid attached, like pasta type dishes without any spices on it. That's the sort of food that would probably benefit somebody most. And above all, don't eat late at night. Let the stomach recover. And that's very important from a full-on stomach heat point of view. From a stomach yin point of view, well, a lot of damage has already been done, but better late than never. So therefore, again, adjust your diet, cut out alcohol completely, cut out cigarette smoking, and take a healthier diet, smaller portions, cooling, moisturized foods, and that's really what is very important. And of course, tonify your yin. I mean, Ren 4 obviously is extremely important. Again, although it will be less effectiveness than in full heat, but the accumulation point is also useful, which is stomach number 34. Would I drag it down? There's probably very little reason to do that, because there isn't anything really to drag down. We're talking about a yin deficiency. You have to tonify the yin, and that's sort of the main thing. Pericardium 6 as well. So it's mainly advice, and mainly probably adjusting lifestyle to create a yin enhancing environment in what you're doing. Anything that creates this sense of wonderment or sense of majesty is a positive. It's a longer haul in treating a yin deficiency, because it's becomes so much part of your identity, so much part of your personality as you motor on in life. But as for the acuteness of the stomach fire, I mean, go to any casualty department on a Friday night where people come in after the pubs or whatever, and you'll see an awful lot of stomach fire. Stomach fire is the addition of an accelerant to cause fire in the stomach, and all the disadvantages associated with that. So again, we're talking very much about advice giving to younger people. If they'll accept it or not, that's another thing, of course, but drag it down, expel it out, the heat. My thoughts on it. Thank you.